are so much more than you think you are, than what you've ever been told. It is time to get into the nitty gritty. It's time for you guys to know the truth. There are many other speakers who say it, but I want to speak on it. This is a passion of mine. When I first started my spiritual journey, um, what really lit a fire inside of me was the injustice that I've seen that has been done to people of color. And this is not just injustices that's going on, police brutality, um, racism, things of that nature. Like, to be honest, that's surface level. Like, and you're like, how is that surface level? It's surface level because you don't know who you truly are. There are civilizations, there are societies right now that has built an image upon our knowledge, upon our work, upon our energy, and they have completely erased us in the history. Did you know that Chinese martial arts and Buddhism was introduced by a black monk? Now, this is something that I learned. I learned the exact name of the black monk yesterday. But don't get me wrong, this isn't new information. I knew that that information came from us. I knew that energy, energy work, when you talk about the martial arts, when you talk about dragons, I knew that that whole Chinese culture, that spiritualism, those ideals that they have, I knew that it came from us. Because when you begin to tap into spirituality, when you really begin to dig deep, you have access to what's called universal consciousness. And in that universal consciousness, there is a collection of information that predates anything that we ever know. So if you want to know something, you just have to tap into that universal consciousness and you can get the downloads. And this isn't just information that, you're making up. No, it resonates so deeply within your soul. It's kind of just knowing something without you ever just know something and you're like, I don't even know how I knew that. I never studied it. I never heard someone say it, but I know it's true. And then you actually turn out to be true. This isn't like hocus pocus. This isn't um, what people call it pseudoscience. Because to be honest, all of the pseudoscience sciences are studied by the CIA. They're studied by these higher intelligence agencies because they don't want it to be accessed by the regular people. Because the things behind the pseudosciences, alchemy, magic, witchcraft, things of that nature, right? Astronomy, right? Astronomy is considered, or astrology, excuse me, is considered a pseudoscience. But in actuality, they know who is born when. They have certain markers of who is born when, so who look out for what. Because certain people born under certain moons, it's like destiny. Under certain suns, under certain planetary alignments, they are meant for great things. And so they keep an eye out for children who was born under. I mean, they can't keep an eye out for everyone, but of course, astrology has to do with location too. This is why they track all the births in the United States. It's not just for records. It's not just for this. It's not the exact timing, the when, the who, the where is very important. You think hospitals are set up in certain places. You think buildings are set up in certain places just for no reason. There's things called energetic ley lines that run deep within the earth. And they're filled with plasma and spiritual energy. Tesla knew about this, but this is just information that he learned over the years, and he accredited to ancient civilizations knew about this. The ancient Egyptians knew about ley lines. Have you ever heard about Lemurians, Atlanteans? They knew about these ley lines that existed beneath the earth, that you can go to and you can access this energy. You are special. I don't know if anyone has ever told you. You are special. This pigment, I am not gonna mince my words. You guys, I am taking a leap of faith because I never wanted to be misconstrued as someone who is polarizing, someone who is dividing, but to be honest, we're that anyway. We're that anyway without even knowing the truth. And maybe if we knew the truth, we wouldn't have people looking down on us. We wouldn't have people discounting, counting us out or discounting us because of the way we look. We are the originators of this planet. We are the original energy. Not, oh, everyone came from African energy. No. They are melanated beings that are from every continent on this planet. All of the life did not originate from Africa. Africa is not the motherland. First, second, third of all. The black people here in America are very genetically distinct from those in Africa. And it is important that we know that. We are genetically distinct from the black people in Australia. They have blonde hair and blue eyes. We are genetically distinct from the ones in Europe who got wiped out. Their bloodline is completely wiped out. They have been. They were called the Moors. The Moors, we are not the Moors, people. People are like, oh, the black people are the Moors. We are not Moors. We are what you actually would call the original native people of America. We are them. We are they. They never brought us over from anywhere. First of all, it doesn't make sense. Second of all, the ships don't exist. Third of all, the records are falsified. And if you look at the genetic DNA, the mitochondria, the alleles, we are only, when they do those genetic ancestry things, guess what? They're just plotting your DNA. They're just seeing how different you are. They're plotting on how to use biochemical warfare against you. And that's for everyone. It's not just melanated, it's non-melanated people. Stop submitting your DNA because you don't know what they're doing with it. This is not a joke. There is a section for biochemical weapons in every military. And how are they able to make biochemical weapons? Do they just, what are they using to make these? They use your genetic DNA, the testing that they get. It's a lot of information. I'm going to try to get it out. But it's basically that We are nature. Melanin is actually closer. It's basically, we share more similar DNA to trees and the chlorophyll that's found into trees than we do, let's say, the monkey, for an example. We are a living, breathing, walking embodiment of nature. Chlorophyll actually can produce carbon dioxide, and our melanin, actually can produce oxygen. Even though our body, our chemical process, we produce carbon, we absorb, we inhale oxygen, it gets turned into ATP, which is energy, and then we exhale carbon dioxide through the Krebs process, blah, 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 blah. Did you know just by sitting out in the sun, our melanin can give us energy as well? Our melanin can absorb and produce, I was going to say produce, and perform photosynthesis. This is not something I'm just making up. This is the truth. This is actual science that they actually did on melanin. It is very important to know who we are, to know what we came from, to know what we are capable of, because they call us people with no history. They call us people with no culture when they're sitting upon the very culture that is us, that was us. You can even look in recent history. As far as the United States, they completely wiped our history. But we have pyramids here. We built pyramids here in America. There are many pyramids here in America, in the Americas. These buildings, these old ancient buildings, they didn't build those buildings. We did. They were our buildings. We weren't just these savage people. You think about Native Americans. We weren't these savage people. And the people that they call Native Americans, they are Russian. Know your history. They are Russian, and some of them are Russian mixed with Europeans. And they try to say that they predate. Oh, they came over here 13,000 years ago. It was not that long ago that they migrated here from Russia, because you can get from Russia to Alaska. They connect. They connect. It is time to know that this is your land. You are not slave. You were, okay. You were not slaves in the sense that they took you from another place and they brought you here. This was always our land. If you know anything about farming, you cannot go from one place. The terrain and the soil and the minerals found in the soil in Africa, that is so far away. That is a completely different continent. It's way different than the soil here. So how is it that they were, and they damn sure ain't know how to they ain't teach us nothing. They didn't teach us a goddamn motherfucking thing. How is it? And look up some of the slaves or the indentured servants that ended up escaping, and they went into the swamp and they survived in the swamp. It's because we already knew the land. We already knew about tobacco. We already knew about the crops that we were planting. We already knew about cotton. Cotton is actually beneficial for your health. They call us cotton pickers. That's not a bad thing. You want to know why? Because that was our crop. We did so much of it. We did so much with it. Money is made of cotton. That is such a potent energy source. When you wear it as clothing, cotton clothing, pure 100% cotton clothing, that's why babies' clothes are made of cotton, because it's beneficial to your health. All this nylon and polyester and spandex, everything carries frequency and vibration. And we are the beings that vibrate the highest and the closest with and to nature. And I am sick of having to hold my tongue because I didn't say higher were better. I didn't say that. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying though is we have a special connection with nature. And you guys wonder why melanated people are discounted throughout the whole world. That's not a coincidence. You ever see those movies where people with superpowers, people with, they have to be destroyed? There's too many of us. They can't destroy us. But what they do is they make us forget. They make up these, what's actually pseudoscience? Science itself. Because it tries to explain sometimes the unexplainable. It comes up with these rudimentary, very elementary ways to explain something so complex that it leaves out room for magic. So then once we're down here, we're thinking down here, we can't even comprehend, we can't see, we reject the idea of the extraordinary and the impossible. And then when it's shown to us, we think it's a one-off. That's because we are living and breathing magical beings. And it's not that they can't access the same magic. It's just magic is very synergistic. We are very powerful people. And it's time that we know this. It's time to know that when you look at martial arts and Hinduism and Buddhism, these wonderful, wonderful ideas and this culture that seems like it was 1,000 years, it's even more ancient. And that is a reflection of you. The sword blades, the blacksmithing that they do, the workmen, these are borrowed techniques. They are imitating masters. The masters are imitating the true masters. And I'm tired of because we have been discounted, we have been looked down on, and we have been told, made to forget who we truly are. We have been broken down so low that we think we're this teeny tiny. Well, we are everything. We are living and breathing creation. We have the power of creation. We have the power of connection. This is who we are. We are made of every metal. We are made of gold, silver. They use, you want to get into some crazy stuff, they use some of the energy in our body to do stuff. Let's talk about Henrietta Lacks, right? Maybe then you'll you know what I'm saying? I'll bring you some more recent things and I'll connect it to the bigger things. So maybe you'll be able to digest it a little bit better. Because if this is your first time hearing it, you're like, what is she talking about? But it's so very important that you know how powerful you are. This is what they don't want you to know. They want you to think that you all, first of all, this is working your sacral chakra, but they want you to think that you are that we don't know nothing, and you know what I'm saying, we just cotton picking slaves, and we don't, you know what I'm saying. We are masters of a craft. We are intelligent. Look up Tuskegee Institute. It was in 1881. 2 black people built this very intelligent robot. It was like better than the robot that we had today. It was more functioning. Look at the videos from back in the day, the 1950s. Look at the technology that they had then. It's not the technology that we have now. It's because they stole our technology. And first of all, the whole world, the whole depiction of history is a lie. In another video, I was talking about how we used to have self-taught mathematicians in the 1550s. But nowadays, We can't even teach ourselves algebra, right? The energy was so much more pure, so much more higher. And even throughout this history of this modern history, most of the inventions were actually made by Black people. And it's so important to know that. It's so important to know that we are inventors, we are creators, that we are actually devolving, that the technology that we have access to in the everyday is elementary, is rudimentary, is actually contained. It's a very contained version of what we used to have access to. The way we live is a very fragmented system. And in a fragmented system, there's a level of cohesion, of togetherness that cannot exist. And when you don't have a level of cohesion, there's a level of ingenuity that you cannot reach, of intelligence, ingenuity, innovation. But those are things that we had back then. Look up Tartaria. And with Tartaria, there are videos that show what society used to look like. We were not bow and arrow and spears that they make us out to be. We were intelligent creatures with intelligence way further than this. How did they make those pyramids and make those so precise? Look up, you know, when people talk about these architectures in Europe, the brothers and sisters who was there thousands of years and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, those buildings that was made thousands and thousands of years ago, that was so precise, that looks like they were carved with lasers. There was no other way that they were made, but they was carved with lasers. That's because what we have now is just a minuscule, a fraction. And they keep it like that because if we don't realize our true, you think Star Trek and all of these, you think these writers have the creation, the ingenuity to be able to think of those things? They don't, because it actually existed at one point in time, but there was lost. Same thing how they claim that they went to the moon, but they lost the technology. They lost the papers on how to get back there. No. One, they never went. But two, we are devolving. The energy cannot sustain such a high level of intelligence, such a high level, because it uses crystals and things of that nature. And when the original beings are being discounted, we are a part of nature. When we are out of alignment, nature is out of alignment. As you see, the worse and worse we get treated, the worse nature is treated. And the worse nature is, as we devolve and are damaged and that, so does nature. But as we are rising up, have you noticed the spiritual awakening that has happened over the past 3-4 years? Have you went outside and seen the effects of it on nature? We directly impact nature, and nature directly impacts us. We are people of the sun, literally. That's what the ancient Egyptians were talking about. People of the sun. Sun children. Because our melanin produces photosynthesis, just like the trees does. And the trees can breathe and produce carbon dioxide and inhale oxygen just as we do. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, back to Henrietta Lacks. Henrietta Lacks was an indentured servitude, because let me tell you about Henrietta Lacks, and I'll tell you about indentured servitude, because this is long. I can go deep on this. Indentured were people who we traded our land. Okay, so when you talk about positive and negative energies, right? When you talk about, um, it's all about natural and unnatural energies. So they convinced the natural beings that the unnatural way of living was better. They convinced us that their way is better. Are they not still convincing us that their way is better? Is it still not black people walking around, even though we have so much culture, we're so gritty. We are so, we basically built this country. Are we still not telling ourselves, oh, we're ghetto, we not like the white people do stuff so much better. They're so much better. They don't do this, they don't do that, they don't do this, they don't do that. But discounting us, the way we make up dances, the way we innovate, the way we can just always have a good time, the way we're still intelligent, the way they have every system rigged against us, but we still flourish, we still shine. But there's still this deep seed that was planted within us that's still running throughout a lot of us, that still says, hey, but we still need to be like them though. That is just the same thing that happened. We had land and they had something else. And they were telling us that that something else is better, and it was money. It was religion. And so we ended up being in debt to them and having to give them their land. There is a show, I think it's one of those old like Western shows, whether it's the Andy Griffin show or one of those shows, and it was talking about, and it was a white guy to a white guy, or I think it was like an Indian to an Indian, but I think it was a white guy to a white guy. But that it was really honestly what happened with black people. They were like, oh yeah, you owe me money, you owe me this amount of money. And he's like, well, I'll take that piece of land since you owe me that much money. And the dude was like, oh, that land is worth much more than the money. And he was like, well, do you have even the money that I'm asking for? And he was like, no. So he had to give him the land. And once he gave him the land and left, and he was like, basically, I suckered him out of the land. This is what happened to us on a mass scale. We fell. There was a great falling. There was a great shift in consciousness that happened within us, where a lot of our leaders were killed. And actually really what happened is when we switched from the divine feminine to the masculine. When we became a masculine-centered society, that's when a lot of us fell. A lot of us started thinking that the way they operated was better. And once we started operating as they did, we weren't able to see through their deceit. We weren't spiritually awakened. Our third eye closed. Our intuition centers, we started ignoring them. So when they came to us, because it's like, why would you ever trade land for this? We didn't understand. We had so much land that we're like, well, whatever. Until it ended up being, none of us had land. And we were it became like a mass pandemic. It became a spiritual sickness. And next thing you know, we're working to pay off debts. They became loan sharks at an astronomical rate, and we became indebted to these people, and we gave them our lands, and we worked on the lands to pay them back money, and this is how they became rich. But these were our lands. You can't trade lands if you're from a different country. We're from here. And this is why 40 acres and a mule is so devastating. It's so insulting. Forget 40 acres and a mule. How about we want it all back? Oh, but they built. Okay, they're landowners, right? They can rent the houses. They can own the houses that's sitting on our land, because it was a mass travesty. It was a spiritual assault, a spiritual. I'm trying to look for the word that happened. And you need to know who you are. You need to walk around knowing that this is the land that your ancestors was always on. So, we be in this identity crisis, thinking that that is an identity crisis. That is a purposeful misleading. When they do those genetic, because I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, let's tie it back in. When they do those genetic testings, we are only related to those in the western part of Africa. Did you know back in the Revolutionary War, the Brits, because they knew that we were about to be enslaved, because we helped them win the war, they knew we were about to be enslaved. They saw it, they foresaw it coming. So to get back at America, they're like, yeah, they about to enslave y'all. So let me help some of y'all escape. Y'all want to go somewhere where y'all won't have to go through this? Because let me tell y'all their plan. In the 1600s, let me tell y'all plan. So some of us was like, yeah, you know what? I don't want my ancestors. I don't want my children to go through 250 years of slavery. Because best believe, just how there are fortune tellers now, they were even more powerful prophetics then. And they could see the future, and they knew that this was about to happen. They were already physically planning it. But when they heard about it, us melanated people with such spiritual power, we looked and we saw that that's exactly what's going to happen. So many of us decided to go to Africa. That's how Sierra Leone, that's where the country stems from. That whole country was built upon Americans, Black Americans. And I don't even like to call it America. I forgot what this goddamn place is called. Atlantis. I know that was Tartaria. This is look, forgive me. They took us from here and we went over there. So when they do these DNA testings and they say that we're not like South Africans, we're not like East Africans, we're not like people from Central Africa, we do not share the same alleles, which means we were not ever the same people. Ever. Not even dating back 1,000 years. We weren't the same people. That's the power of DNA. That's the power of the mitochondrial DNA. Because it comes from the mother, the womb, passed from womb to womb. From womb to child. And it is passed from womb to womb. We are not related to most Africans. We were our own people. And the only way they can tie us is the people who left in the first place. They forgot to leave out the fact that some of us left 200 years ago. So of course we're going to share DNA to the people who left 200 years ago. That's how I know we're not from Africa. We are not from Africa. This is our land, and it's very important that we know so. Henrietta Lacks, she is a Black woman. She was an indentured servitude who she was having pains, and they did an operation on her, and they ended up taking her DNA, her cells. They probably took her ovaries, and they stitched her up, and they put some uranium in her, some radiation in her, and they left her in so much pain. She was in agonizing pain for years. This is part of Johns Hopkins history. They teach you about it in school. There's books upon it. And they still use her DNA, her cells today to make medicine all over the world. Her cells is used to make all types of medicine. You will be surprised. Medicines that we're still using today. This is what Cat, I'm not playing with you. Told you, you dirty. You be out here, you fucking breaking my skin. Sorry. This is so important. This is so important to realize. How much we impact the world. How we're even healing them. Using our DNA, our cells. It was also, that daggone cat made me lose because it was also something that I needed to tie up. So I was saying, because they use our DNA for medicine, what else do they use our melanin for? All those black children. What happened to remember the basketball player who was found wrapped up in a towel with all his organs gone? The movie Get Out. These are not just concepts of creative people. These are things that actually has transpired in some way, shape, or form. That they're using our bodies to live longer. And if we don't know, if we're so stuck on mainstream media, on what they're feeding us, because they're in charge of mainstream media, these rappers who they promote. Look at the degradation of our music. Our music has degraded. I guess it is degradation. Our music has degraded so much over just the past 50 years. Why? Because of Earth, Wind, and Fire. How in tune they were. How they were able to spread such intelligent messages of who we truly are throughout the music. And how we were still, that intelligence, that deep-seated knowledge of who we are, we were still awakening through music. They had to erase that. But they can never erase what is within us. Because look at this massive awakening that's happening now. It is blowing their mind. It's not getting warmer because of climate change. It's getting warmer because we are awakening. There is a higher level of spiritual energy here upon this planet. That results in more heat. And we affect the sun. The sun affects us. The sun is going to get higher as we get higher. That's how vibration and energy works. The faster something vibrates, the higher the frequency is, the faster the oscillations, the faster something vibrates. The faster something vibrates, the hotter it is. That's what I mean by that little crackpot. They want to call other people crackpot. No, theirs is the one who doesn't make sense. Their science, climate change, doesn't make sense. 2 + 2 does not equal 4 with them. But they say it in such a way, they use these words that if you don't truly understand what they mean by greenhouse emissions and this, that, and da-da-da-da-da, you'll be so quick to believe them. Antarctica was not always covered in ice. It is not meant to be covered in ice. There was actually societies that thrived there, and it's so beautiful, it's so green. You ever notice the more north you get, sometimes the more nature there is? What they have told you, and really, north is south and south is north. They completely flipped it. These are things that they have tried to keep from us. And it is so important for us to know. It is such a travesty at how they treat us. And they really do, they have gate kept and locked some of these secrets up so tight that you have regular people walking around. Sometimes, when I experience racism, because we experience it from Asians, from those mixed people called, that's down in South America, the Hispanics. They are our mixed race of people. They are white Italians mixed with the natives that was down in South America. They are mixed children being racist to us. That's why some of them come out dark, some of them come out with red hair. Because they are a mixed race. We have the Asians, we have the white people, we have all these people being racist to us. And it's literally based on fear. Fear of how powerful we truly are. Off of maybe a little bit of jealousy. Jealousy that when they start to vibrate too high, they are CIA files that I read of them trying to do remote viewing. When they woke up too soon, when they, opened their third eye too soon, and they started doing all of these, things like remote viewing and things that we're accessing right now in this day of time, they ended up going crazy. Their brains ended up being fried. The Asian monks, when they ended up vibrating too high, they would spontaneously combust. They couldn't get to a certain level, but that's a DNA thing. That's a life. I'm not saying they ever could. I'm not saying that they're not as good as us, but it's literally built within us. And we all have these different strengths and weaknesses. But when you really count out the powerhouse such as this, like, okay, Dragon Ball Z, for example. Piccolo is a Namekian. Piccolo is the guardian of the earth, and everybody widely considers Piccolo black, right? Because, oh, trust me, look at the comments. They be racist as I don't know what. But why is Piccolo the weakest? Why did they make Piccolo the weakest when he is actually the guardian? If anything, he should be more powerful, right? Especially on Earth. It doesn't matter if they are Super Saiyan from a different planet. When you're operating on this planet's frequencies, you're eating this planet's food, Piccolo should be more, should thrive more, right? Exactly. They show it to us. They show it to us over and over and over again. One Piece, the ancient, with the black hair. They are black people with white hair and wings. How Kumo was an ancient race of giants, of black people. They show it to you over and over and over again. That we used to be a very advanced people and that we were punished. We are punished for it. But if you don't know who you are, how are you ever going to do the basic things like reach your dreams? It makes it, not even how are you still can, but it makes it so hard. It makes it so hard to keep your head up. And that's what I mean, like there is a travesty that is being done on this entire planet. Look it up. Learn. Tai Chi, this is you. Martial arts, Kung Fu, that is you. It is all you. Pyramids, that is you. So we have pyramids here and over there. It's you. Speaking to my African brothers and sisters, y'all are so powerful. But y'all digging your own grave at these points. You're digging for natural resources and then giving them up. These rubies, this gold that made you so powerful. Kings and queens mimic their dress off of us, how we were adorned with crystals. We were always adorned, not for fashion. We are fashionable, but we did it for power, for the power that lies in gold, for the power that lies in silver. Silverian energy is feminine energy. Gold is masculine. Copper just resonates. Copper is so good for you. Look at how good copper is for you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. My nose is itching. I must be onto something because it just came out of nowhere. But ladies and gentlemen, this is time, okay? I'm going to add that voice of reasoning. I am so passionate. I became so passionate. It's such a shame what they have done. Because they made it so you don't even know who you are. And you are great. You were born great. You will always be great. That is something they can never take from you. Hopefully I've awakened you. I've caught your attention in different ways, because there was something else I was supposed to tie in. But hopefully I tied in as much as I could in this video. I'm not trying to have it to be 3 hours long, but I could. That's how much information that is available. Look up who we truly are, because we are great. So, like, please subscribe, please hype this video, because like I said, I want to build a community, but it's not that I want to have a community. It's not that I want to, you know what I'm saying, I just want all these people just to look at me because, you know, I just want to, you know, or money. And I feel like even if I wasn't doing this, I would still become rich, because that is in my bloodline. Because money is cotton, and cotton is a natural frequency, and I am of that natural frequency. I align with nature, so it's gonna come to me either which way. But my soul's purpose, I came here, I was born here to not only awaken myself, to let you know, to teach you. As I reawaken, I can teach others how I reawakened. With lit that spark in me. I speak with authority. I speak with truth. I speak with sincerity. I speak with authenticity. I want others to hear this message as well. It is so important. Not that we can go to war. Maybe that'll be a period of healing. So there can be a period of healing. We need to heal our self-image, because it starts down with our self-worth. A lot of us have been told as a people we are worthless when we are freaking everything. And it starts from the root on up. A lot of us believing in this false God, something that doesn't even exist. That damn Jesus. That don't even exist. It is nature. And if he did exist, when you look at the scriptures, he talks about the same thing. The God that lives in me is the God that lives in you. I am my Father. My Father lives in me, and I live in my Father. That's nature. That's the universe. That's the source of all. That energy that runs through. Me is the energy that runs through nature, is the energy that's existing in the universe. It had to get serious. It was time to get a little bit deep. I hope you enjoyed this. It was a little bit all over the place, but I just turned it on. I'm like, what am I going to talk about? Then I seen the, right before I turned it on my Safari was the picture of the black monk. He's called Damo. And I'm like, oh, I knew it. I already knew it. But it's nice when you can see it. That it's nice that there's still record of it. He's actually painted, carved all over Africa. All over China. And they still have the nerve to say things like martial arts is wasted on our kind. Michael Jai White, it was actually a movie he was in. He actually said that in his heyday and in Bruce Lee's heyday, he would be better than Bruce Lee. And he got so much flack for it. Why? When it came from us. It came from those like us melanated beings. So I leave this with you. Please share, like, subscribe if you want to hear more. Not only do I show you how to live and breathe in this modern society, how to heal, how to come back to yourself. I'm going to drop a little bit of history gems on you too every now and then again. Ashe, and that means power. So Ashe, 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 may the power be with you because you are powerful.